Before that also. It's been a terrific outpouring of community spirit and really an Advent season that we could all come together in a special way. So I've also asked Lenny if he has, there you are, Lenny, if you have any video for us to share with the audience so that if they happen to not be able to make it, they can take a look at it. You got it? All right, let's go. It's a terrific time for the University of St. Thomas to find new ways to come together. And one of the ways that we always come together is by praying as a community. So I'd like to ask Max Linville from Campus Ministry to lead us in a prayer this afternoon. Max?
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, Master of both the light and the darkness, send your Holy Spirit upon our preparations for Christmas. We who have so much to do and seek quiet spaces to hear your voice each day. We who are anxious over many things look forward to your coming among us. We who are blessed in so many ways long for the complete joy of your kingdom. We whose hearts are heavy seek the joy of your presence. We are your people, walking in darkness, yet seeking the light. To you we say, come, Lord Jesus. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Max. And, I know I'm not alone when I say this has been a time during the pandemic in particular where we all have turned to prayer as a way of coming together with our Lord and understanding this time. And it's been a time that, as you know, has been unpredictable at times, but it has also called us to be our best selves, to challenge ourselves, to rise to meet the challenge of the pandemic, and to serve our students in maybe a way that we never have quite before. So from the bottom of my heart and from those students and everyone else that has benefited from the hard work that our faculty and staff have put in to this time of meeting the needs of our students and advancing this university, I want to say thank you. And know that the heroic efforts that have come together from the faculty and the staff has really been an inspiration. It's an inspiration to our students, to our community, and others have noticed. As you know, the University of St. Thomas was recently rated the #1 online, which seems a little weird for us, right? University in Houston. But it just goes to show you that you have made a terrific difference. We have pivoted overnight with new policies, with new technologies that allow us to do an amazing thing, and that is continue the forward progress of this community to serve our students. And those students are so important to where we are going and the future, obviously, of the world. So as we think about those students, one of the things that I've heard from them is that they miss the opportunity to be in person, and I know you do too. And so as we do that, I want to offer a special call to say, let's think about how we can reach out to our students in a personal way. So if you're a faculty member and you're in your classes, make sure you take that little extra time if you can to make sure that each one of the students is connected. And for those staff members, the success coaches and others, it's important for us to make sure that we make that personal connection because that's a real hallmark of a University of St. Thomas experience. And to help us understand a little bit about that, we have a video of how important, a video about our students and how they are sharing with us this time. So if we could take a look at that video.
So my name is Kylie Mann. I'm in the class of 2023 and I'm a nursing major. I really enjoy the small scale of how UST is. Everyone's friends with each other, so it was really great to just feel like that really welcoming community.
I think that the biggest thing that I like about UST is the personable connections that you make to your professors and to other students. With such a small campus and community, it's always really great to just like be able to email a professor and they know who you are, and you just make those connections very easily here.
What I really liked about St. Thomas, especially the business school, is that when you would go in and ask them for help, they would clear off everything and sit down, so welcoming, so warm, almost to the fact like, oh, I kind of feel like this is like another, mom or another dad or another mentor, I don't think I would be where I am right now in my personal financial position without the help of my mentors from St. Thomas.
What's really unique here is that my counselor really got to know me and my background, and I shared that my parents are from different cultures and I love traveling, and so she kind of said, well, have you ever thought about international studies or international development? I said, that sounds awesome, but no, not really. And so I attribute that. I still think about her all the time, that it was really her mission to get to know me.
Transitioning out of the military, my attention wasn't there, so I needed smaller classrooms. So I found UST. As soon as I applied, I got accepted, and I was like, that's it. I'm gonna be home. I come from a background in the military where camaraderie and unit cohesion is important. So I think the school provides that, whether it's through clubs, through the professors, through every department. I think they have formed this cohesion.
I think the feeling of being a Celt is so proud here that it doesn't grow on you. You just step on campus and you become a Celt, and
You're always gonna have your own personal cheer team behind you in everything that you do.
And so I think that's probably what I value the most, is just like having that sense of like almost like family and community here.
So I never tire of hearing from our students and understanding what inspires them, and in large part it's you, right? So thank you for all of the extraordinary work that you have done, for the ways that you connect with the students. It's making a real difference. And you can see that by the numbers, by what's happening. But we are not a university that is sitting this one out, right? The pandemic is something that none of us wanted, but it is certainly an opportunity for us to, in some ways, accelerate the plans that we had, and in other ways, to maybe rethink or reshape how we approach some of our strategic goals. And so all of you know that the Call Toward Tomorrow is a 5-year integrated plan for the university's future. And that was a process that allowed the community to come together to say, this is where we're going. This is that direction that we're headed, and here are the priorities for that. And as we do that, things like student housing that we had up front, at least before the pandemic hit, that may be timed a little differently, right? But we also know that, for instance, the infrastructure of technology, that has accelerated in a way that really gives us a competitive advantage in the marketplace. But more important than that is it gives us an advantage with our students. It allows us to connect with them in safer ways. This pandemic has given us, I think, a stronger footing to be the best parts of ourselves, to be the best UST that we can be as a platform for the future and where we go with that. And as we think about that, what I'd like to ask you to do is to consider these objectives for the next few months. And the objectives are big objectives, right? They are to build. What are we going to build in this time when a lot of people, as I said, are sitting it out, right? We're going to build for the future, and we're going to build for the present as well. And so with that, we will continue to build out that IT infrastructure. Some of you may have heard that the library, the Doherty Library, is changing. And indeed, that's the case. But that's another example of how the Call Toward Tomorrow integrated plan is being accelerated in some ways. Our librarian, Jim Piccinini, and faculty and staff and students came together more than 2 years ago to craft out a vision for what the library might be as we move forward. And as we know, getting ready for next semester, and with our commuter students and others needing places to safely be and be distanced from each other, we needed more space to do that. And so what we did was we accelerated the plans for the library in a way that takes the materials that we had in some of the locations, and we've located them 5 minutes away so that they are there available for us very quickly. But it also opens up a whole new framework for us to engage with our students and to serve their needs. So that, coupled with IT infrastructure and some other things that I think we'll build together, and the needs that you have, really sort of helped capture the idea of build. The next is bridge. Now, when you think about a bridge, you clearly think of going someplace or coming into a place. And for us, I think that's a really important dynamic for the University of St. Thomas. As we consider where we're going together, a community on that bridge moving into the future, but also a community standing at the bridge, welcoming others to come across it, as we bring in new students, as we make new partnerships with others, as we build those bridges with other Catholic universities and other Catholic organizations and other organizations that join us in serving our students and the community in great goodwill. So that notion of bridge and how we reach out to the world and how the world reaches into us, I think is really important as we build and bridge for the future. And then certainly believe, right? This is a Catholic university. There is no doubt about that. Our expression of our Catholic identity, of our Basilian values, sits at the core, but it doesn't just sit there. It comes alive. It is the fuel that really creates the energy, the new energy for the university. And so as we look at how we take our Catholic campus life experience, how that goes into the cyber world with reaching our students and others at great distances, that's going to be central to how people understand and experience this university. And that brings us to you, because our identity, our essence really is communicated through how you, as faculty and staff, connect with our students and one another. We believe that we are a community, a body of Christ, each with special gifts, but certainly together we form the corporate personality of how we express our love for one another. And that idea of belief, we're going to see it in symbols, in sacred artwork, and other ways that we can come together and share with one another that rich tradition and that fantastic future that's coming as we build, bridge, and believe together. So those are some of the objectives for next semester that I'd like each one of you to consider how you are going to implement those in a real personal way within the departments, within the schools, and certainly for the university itself. So I think that's going to be really important for us, and I know that you're going to be excited about where we're going and how we're doing that. One of the questions that always comes up for the conversation with the community is the question of budget. Now, some people tempted me. They said, oh, you got to build, bridge, and believe. Let's put budget in there too. Well, I'm not sure that we're going to connect them in quite that way. But I think the remarkable testament to you as a contributor to this university by your time and your talent, and in some cases your treasure, is that our fiscal situation continues to improve. The budget that we have for this current fiscal year is one that we anticipate at the close of the year to be an equilibrium, that we will be in a balanced budget. Now, some things have to happen just right for that to occur, but even that we are in the position that we think that might happen is absolutely remarkable, given that we are in the pandemic and there have been so many additional costs. You know, and the university itself has not only borne those costs to make the technology available, to implement additional cleaning procedures, to make spaces available for our students as they need to quarantine or to isolate. But it's also important for us to recognize that our community, our UST community, has come together to support our students in a particular way with health care, many of them would not have been able to continue in the fall or in the spring if we hadn't had the generosity of many of our donors who've come forward and have done a terrific job in allowing us to help our students to persist. And as we look at our community and trying to help our community grow, and as we strengthen fiscally, one of the things that is foremost on my mind, our leadership's mind, and I know the board is there too, is as we look forward and with the projections for next fiscal year, if things hold the way we think they will, perhaps we'll be able to recognize and invest in the great talent that makes this place so terrific. So in a way that we haven't been able to in the recent past. And I'm excited about that, I'm encouraged about that, and that's something that we're working really hard to have happen. And to be able to talk about that, again, is a strong statement about the ability that you have brought to us, the energy, the love that you've shared, because a lot of institutions of higher learning are not in that position because they don't have you. And so I want to thank you again for that. As we look at moving this conversation forward, let's open it up to an opportunity for people to ask questions. So through the magic of this production, we're going to ask if folks have questions, and they will help me source who those are. I think folks are going to raise their hands or have questions, and then I'm going to try and respond. And we may even have some help from audience members here in Jones Hall. In Jones Hall, there may be 10 people here. So we are safely distanced, but it's something that I'm looking forward to. So please, if you have questions or comments, I'm eager to hear those. As you're thinking about the questions, one of the questions that people always have is, how are admissions looking, right? How do things look for the next semester? And I could call on Arthur to give us kind of an update on that. What I will tell you is that the last report I heard, which was pretty recently, was that we were trending in a pretty positive way. So coupling that with where we were at the beginning of the fall semester with our record high enrollment, I'm eager to hear what the latest update is. So Arthur, do you want to help us with that?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that question. So, as we know, we still have a few more weeks until we hit the spring semester. And traditionally for spring, transfer students on the undergraduate side is the area where we receive most of our recruitment. And so far right now, we're tracking pretty much even, and in some ways slightly ahead last year with our students for this coming spring. So we're very excited about that, because I think that's an indication of how things will continue for us to kind of be on the upswing. Right now, Lee Holm is telling me, we haven't talked today, but we did talk yesterday, and a new report came out today, so I'll be curious to hear that on the overall university registrations right now, we're doing quite well with last year. We were slightly behind, but I think we're talking in single-digit numbers. And the process is, in some ways, because students, their appointments in the past, they would be able to show up in person, and you could kind of see a lot of walk-ins and kind of take care of that. Since everything's scheduled now, then it takes a little while to get through them, but they're scheduling them pretty quickly. On the graduate side, the graduate schools, as of a week and a half ago, were slightly ahead on new students than they were last year. In fact, it was about 10% up on new students. Returning students, I think they're still registering. Well, I know they're still registering, so that number is not fully solidified just yet. So our hope is that we haven't seen too many warning signs of retention issues. We do know that obviously this is one of the most trying times for all college students everywhere and everyone, that many schools are very concerned about retention numbers, about students just saying, you know, I can't do this so much, whether I did at the end of my high school career and my senior year and in the beginning of my college career, I'm just going to set a semester or two out until this blows over. But we're not seeing that just right now, though our student engagement team has worked with students and counseling and disabilities, and also campus ministries and others have worked with students that have expressed, you know, some concerns, and once they were spoken with, and most of them have decided, okay, we can do this together and we'll stick it out. So that's kind of where we are right now. Certainly things will move very rapidly. One thing that's interesting about the spring semester every year is that the time period between the end of the fall and the beginning of the spring is very compressed, so the numbers just change very quickly each day. And so the predictability is a little bit different than it is in the fall, where you see it occurring for months and months. But by all indicators that we use all the time, we're doing quite well so far. So a lot of kudos to Ryan and all the admissions team, all the financial aid team, Linda and her staff, and the registrar, Lee and advising, and everyone else that's working with them, as well as Shundees and those in student affairs, student engagement, for planning orientation for these students as well. It's really taking a lot of people that are involved in it. And our admissions counselors have done a fantastic job of really adapting to how to recruit in this environment. Students are in school all day on Zoom, and they really don't want to go to a virtual college fair at night. And then also, you know, right now our associate's degree programs, as you know, they really were bolstered up this fall. And Dr. Nicole Walters and her staff are doing a wonderful job of getting those students registered for their second semester. And we're working on the retention to keep all those, as well as recruiting new students. And then Alfredo Gomez and his graduate admissions team working with all the various deans in securing our graduate class. So you have a lot of folks working very hard, and that always have the students at the forefront. And that's not even to mention all the faculty and professors that are helping us in this process, which are too many to name. So,
Thank you, Arthur. Just go ahead and hand that over there. Sure. Thank you. Okay.
What goal are you most excited about?
What goal am I most excited about? Well, you know, that's one of those things that there are so many, so many things that this community has selected as priorities as we move forward. For me, it really is about growing the community, right? So that means that there are more people who are impacted by the terrific human formation that happens at this university. As we grow our different kinds of programs, we have the new engineering program, we have explosive growth in our nursing programs. As we have opened 2 new centers, one in Shenandoah and one in Conroe, the UST Mac Center, we have new audiences, new ways that we reach out to share what is this great treasure that is the University of St. Thomas and its education, its formation. So for me, it's that excitement that I really, I think is one of the best things about the priorities that this community has selected. Do we have other questions?
Yes, sir. What is your plan for a gradual and safe reopening of the campus next semester after reassessing the COVID situation? And a similar question that says, what factors will be considered on returning to campus in spring?
Sure, thank you. That's a question that's been on a lot of people's minds, and it's been on the leadership team's mind, but it's also been on the mind of the senior members of our faculty and students, and certainly the staff, as we all communicate and talk about what the best way for UST to manage this. And what I want to say is that we have done this now for, the better part of a year, and we typically have a framework that says we're going to look at the facts on the ground at the time that they happen and make a decision that is safe for our students, faculty, staff, our community, but also that allows us to continue to be the University of St. Thomas. And so with that, what I'd like to do is ask Chris Evans, our Vice President for Academic Affairs, to make his way down here to maybe answer more specifically some of the feedback that we've received from the faculty and the staff about how we would bring people back to the classroom, back to campus, and how we might begin the spring semester. Chris?
Thank you, Richard, and it's good to see everyone today. And so what we've decided is usually when we make decisions, depending around current circumstances, we consult widely with the medical experts, Senate, Dean's leadership, other councils, and we try to make decisions as late as possible based on the best information. The spikes in Houston, there is an increase. It's not like the national trend. There is an expectation that once we come back from the holidays that we may see a spike then. And so as just over an abundance of caution, we decided with the full support of everyone we discussed with is to go ahead and start this semester fully online for the first 3 weeks. We plan to return on February 1st. Right now, if you look in our course schedule, about 60% of our sections are listed as high flex, and the rest in some kind of online modality, whether synchronous or asynchronous. And that was about what we were on par in the fall as well. And so once we return to campus, we'll still have the COVID cap in our classrooms. And so if it's a 30-seat, it'll be able to hold at least 15 students, and then the rest can be done in the high flex model, so students can zoom into that, which has been, in the reports we're getting, has been working quite well with the faculty and the students that are utilizing that. We've done an assessment of all of our classrooms. We still have some classrooms, larger classrooms, without the 86-inch Dell screens. I know a lot of people who've been using those really enjoyed those, and so what we've done is we purchased a couple more of those, and then we're going to fit them into the larger classroom, and so that everyone has the same level of technology. And so we plan when we come back to be outfitted in the high flex model, and so we can accommodate the people who want to come back, but they're able to do so in the safest possible way. But again, we're probably just going to have to look at the circumstances in January and see where we're at, right? And so, but our hope is that we did well in the fall, but we also didn't see the high numbers that maybe we're seeing right now, and that is expected to increase. We just don't know how much, right? So, is there any other?
What about spring break? Some folks want to know about spring break. Where are we with that?
So what we've decided on spring break is not to make a decision on spring break until we have better information about spring break. And so we are committed to Easter. That's obviously a very sacred time, both for for Catholics, pastors' wives, and whatnot, right? And so, and I see Mary smiling there. So we are. What we're going to decide on spring break is make the decision on February 1st to see what the COVID community spread is like. Now, what we would do is if we canceled it, we would just go ahead and have classes and then just end the semester early. And so from a faculty perspective, it's not going to change your course schedule. It'll just move everything up. SAC-COC still requires a certain number of contact hours, and they haven't flexed those standards. And so we still have to meet with those compliance standards. And so however we adjust the semester to reduce the risk of a spread, we're just going to make the decision on February 1st. So.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
No? Okay. Thank you. Just go on over there.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we have another. Is my mic on? Oh, we have another question. What synergies will there be between the new Conroe and main UST campuses as far as teaching and community? From Beverly Barrett.
Okay, great. Good question. And that's one of the things that we are figuring out. The micro campus, the UST Mac Center in Conroe, has been one of those places that has generated a lot of energy and a lot of interest. And in fact, Melinda and I are headed up there for an alumni event this evening. Safely distanced, masked, and all the other things that we would do. But it's an important piece of how we culturally connect other places in the university with the university's home campus here in Montrose. And so we are figuring that out as we go forward, but it's really a sharing of the culture, right? So they are about 50 miles away, that center is, but we need to, and we are connecting them virtually. The faculty that teach classes here will teach online up there. It is something that as we go forward, we're continuing to develop the strategies for that. Because as you'll remember, our goal with the UST Mac Center is really to become a part of the community in Montgomery County. And so, for instance, last week we were up there for another ribbon cutting with the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce. We have the ABSN Center of the Carolyn Otis Peavy School of Nursing in Shenandoah. So we have a lot of touch points, and we are becoming part of that community too. So as we connect that community with the university and we connect the UST Mac Center with this community, we're going to find new ways to make that happen. And I think in some ways it's providential that we are having this kind of emphasis on distance relationships. And we're forced to do that because of the pandemic. But it also creates a model for how we just bring Conroe and Shenandoah, Montgomery County into the university. So that's a fairly non-specific answer, but right now it's too soon to see exactly how that happens. I know Jeff, Jeff Olson, our Vice President for Communication and Community Engagement, is helping to lead that effort. And so we have Carla Alcindor, who's directing the Conroe Center. So Jeff, do you want to come down and talk about that? And while you're here, I'll also pivot for just a moment because Chris talked about the semester sort of in its entirety and what happens if it finishes early and those sorts of things. We are still planning to have a more traditional, if you will, commencement ceremony in May, and Bishop Robert Barron is scheduled to be the keynote speaker for that commencement. But we also have a special commencement that the university is developing that will happen this weekend. And so, Jeff, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what's happening, the excitement that's building, and how we'll connect in Montgomery County with UST Mac Center and with the Center in Shenandoah, and maybe what's happening described for the commencement this weekend.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Ludwig. Yeah, for those of you who haven't been out to check out the lights that are on Yoakum, we've got every live oak on Yoakum lit red and gold all the way down from Alabama all the way down to Richmond, and it's truly a beautiful thing to check out. But this coming weekend on Saturday and Sunday, we're doing what we're calling the Winter Walk of Hope and Joy. And it's really a way to honor our graduates when we couldn't give them the big, smart financial commencement that we had hoped for. So we've put together a stage, and it's really pretty impressive. It's a big stage with big UST letters in front of it. And the graduates are going to get to come by with their families. And that's something that was really important to them. They wanted their families to be able to be there when they walked across the stage in their cap and gown. So their families will be there, and we'll take some video of the graduates as they go by. And then we're going to cut it all together into an edited product that we're going to send out to them, so they'll have something to remember their commencement by. So that's commencement this weekend. And if you didn't check out the lights yet, after this weekend, it's going to be open all of December from 6 to 8 in the evening for people to drive through and check out. Or you can get out. You can walk over to what we call the dreaming trees that are on campus, and they're a great photo opportunity for you and for your family.
Great.
So, and then also UST Max. We're doing some info sessions up there already. We've got associate's degrees info sessions. We've got nursing info sessions. So to answer Beverly's question about how faculty can really connect with UST Max, reach out to us and we'll set up info sessions for your programs. We can do distance learning from cohorts up there with your classes down here. So like Dr. Ludwig said, we're really exploring a lot of possibilities on how we can utilize that campus most effectively up there.
Good.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, we're really excited about the way we can honor our graduates. This weekend, we think that's going to be awesome, a lot of fun. And for those of you who were able to drive through the Yoakum to see all the lights, you know how magical that has been. And we've just received so many really kind words and like, we want to do this again next year, that sort of thing. So it's been a terrific thing for us to share that gift of light with the community. Are there other questions?
Yes, sir. Can the university revisit the alumni discount for admission?
Sure. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm guessing it's about, if you're an alumnus, you get some sort of a discount for tuition? Do we know what this is about, Arthur? Okay. Yeah, because I didn't have a lot to go with on the question.
So it's a great question, and there's been a couple of different forms of it in the past. One was that alumni would receive their first graduate course for free. There was discounts, so there's various different things that have happened over the past. So we have been talking about doing some things, and I know Jeff has some ideas as well, in particular, about offering continuing education and other things for alumni of the university. So those items have been discussed. So I think that's a good thing for us to talk about further. I also, now that I'm down here, I didn't want to just answer this question, but I wanted to plug a little commercial because one thing that's been very evident during the pandemic, right, is we see a number of families who are out of work and struggling, and both advancement and a lot of other areas on campus have come together with these Houston Food Bank drives that have been remarkable, and Freshman Symposium. Dr. Joe Meyer-Marquis has become involved in all of them and getting all the symposium classes and mentors involved. And one thing that's come through very clearly is there's a real need out there, and the Veteran Success Center has also taken a lead in dealing with food insecurities, and they have a drive going on right now, continuing. So, you know, during your Christmas shopping or holiday shopping or deliveries or however you're doing it during the pandemic, then any extra canned goods and non-perishable items that you have that you can contribute to the Veteran Success Center Food Bank and the efforts that many on campus are teaming together on, I think that would be fantastic. And it's very edifying, as we all know, when you see a family in need and you're able to help and contribute. And I think that's the spirit of UST that we always have to be mindful of. And it's consistent with what we've been doing this whole time, right? With providing a home for our healthcare heroes in Guinan, providing counseling for nurses and those in the healthcare industry, and then obviously providing food for those who need it. So just continue to remember that as you're going about your errands and things like that. I just reminded myself this weekend that when I pick up groceries that I'm going to pick up a few more things to bring by for that effort. Thank you.
Thanks, Arthur. All right, thanks for that question. Yeah, the question about alumni tuition, last year we had special that would encourage our students that were undergraduates graduating to roll right into graduate programs. And that's something that I think we should strongly consider as we move forward. Other questions?
Yeah, we have 4 more so far.
Good.
Will UST distribute COVID vaccines to the university community, faculty, staff, and students?
That's something that we don't know yet, right? So we've made inquiries about how we will, if we can, get COVID vaccines, and if we do that. So if we do that, it will likely be in conjunction with our nursing school, the Carol and Otis Peavy School of Nursing, just like we have the flu vaccination shots. Perhaps that will be a model for us to move forward with, but we don't have the information on that yet. And then certainly Chief Jenkins and Deb Moyer, they have been instrumental in organizing things like healthy Kel trackers and really keeping a handle on the question about how we respond in a very tactical way to COVID.
Okay, and the next one would be, how can we deliver a syllabus if we don't know the dates as of February?
Well, I'll ask Chris to answer in more detail about that, but I would think the syllabus, whether we finish a week early or not, will still cover the same content. So, Chris?
Hi, Richard, if
Sure.
I can jump in here. So the semester is going to start on schedule on January 11th. It's just the mode of the instruction will be full online. And what we're encouraging to do, if you haven't set up your Blackboard yet, please go in and do that as soon as possible. And what we've heard from student feedback is it would be helpful if, for example, more of the professors utilize some of the gradebook features in Blackboard, uploaded syllabi in Blackboard, maybe some information that they need to refer to frequently, if that can be uploaded in Blackboard. And so we are asking faculty to consider when they're preparing for their Blackboard right now to upload this material. I do want to bring Dr. Monahan in here, and so because I know he's on the front line on Blackboard issues.
And behind me was what it looks like on Yoakum. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, it's just beautiful. I just want to emphasize thanks for all the faculty and the really hard work that you all did this semester. Turns out when we surveyed over 700 students, 85% of them were very pleased with the nature of the interactions that they had in online. And when we surveyed you faculty, 90% said that you do online again. And what we're doing right now is we're focusing on how can we make the student experience even better. And the key to that is going to be engagement. It's how do you make your courses more interactive? Are there ways to set up groups that have discussions among themselves within a bigger group like we have here? We're seeing a fair amount of interaction right now in the chat as one instance of how you can do live interactions in a classroom. There's also a variety of ways to do it in the asynchronous modes, like discussion boards, where you have all students answer questions rather than just the 3 or 4 who might be the more brave students who answer questions in a class. But what we've found from students is they'd really like to know more about how they're doing, and the Blackboard Gradebook can really help a lot with that. We've got noontime seminars that we're doing, interactive seminars. We're trying to keep it to 15 minutes on how to use the Blackboard Gradebook, as well as how to put stuff up in Blackboard, like your syllabus. And you may consider, even if you use PowerPoint, putting that up after the classes happen. It can be a really good resource for students to be engaged with your course, even when it's not happening at the same time or in person. So there are a lot of ways that we can help you out. And as you know, we have a number of instructional designers who are at the ready. I see at least 2 of them on the Zoom today who would love to help you out in person, via Zoom because of the pandemic right now, and as well as with resources that we have available on websites in the Blackboard organization, on the Blackboard website, and through Teach Online at sttom.edu. So we're here to help you out, but I applaud the wonderful work that's been done this fall so far. I think it's only going to get better.
Thank you, Jim. And I also want to say that Jim's team that has been working with our faculty and the faculty who've embraced that, it's terrific to see how we can come together as a community to do that. You know, there are other ways that we are coming together as a community as well. For instance, the new Shared Insights process, which helps give everybody a voice on this campus, this university, into what's going on, what policies are and all that. That's off to a good start. And in fact, we're going to be tackling another policy this week in the advisory committee of that group. So that is another example of how we are reshaping the university in a way that is much more inclusive, many more voices coming together. And the example of the team that Jim has put together here, you know, we were ahead of the curve, if you will, because when we went into the pandemic, we had the group kind of ready to go in a way. So that is another example of how we as a community come together. But I'm interested to hear if there are other questions or comments.
Yes, sir. Let's see. Will our athletes have a tighter schedule because of pushing things to the spring?
Yeah, I don't know about the schedule, the reference point there, but relative to competition, if competition can happen this year for our student athletes, it will happen in the spring semester. It is likely that if it does happen, there will be a much more compressed competition schedule. So instead of, say, and I'm just using this as an example, it's not the real numbers, but instead of 20 basketball games for women's basketball, there might be 10 or 12, right? So it's a much more compressed schedule. And there is, according to the NCAA, there is a much more rigorous kind of testing protocol it depends on the actual sport, which ones are higher risk according to some indicators than others. So yes, that will happen, and the other thing that will happen that will impact sort of the university as a whole is that all of the seasons may take place at approximately the same time. So that we didn't have competition in the fall, and we haven't had it in the winter sports until beginning in January. So all of those will be moved into the spring. So it will impact the schedules a little bit, but it's not like we're trying to do full schedules all in the spring. It is a very compressed and limited competition period during the spring, if that's something we can do. Thanks for that question.
Last question. Are we on track with the call toward tomorrow?
Are we on track with the call toward tomorrow? Yes. You know, I mentioned that early on in this conversation, but you know, the call toward tomorrow is one of those things that the world has literally changed, turned itself upside down because of the pandemic and other things, and the university has responded to that in a way that I think can make all of us very proud that this community had the foresight to look at the call toward tomorrow and set these general guidelines about how this university will advance. And that's given us the framework to be successful even in a time when sometimes the normal rules don't apply. And that's something we're really excited about. As we look toward the future, I mentioned the objectives for next semester of building, bridging, and believing, and invite you to make those your own about how you contribute to that. But as the board is looking at this, as we as a community will look at this, it warrants, I think, a sort of picking the call toward tomorrow up, looking at it and seeing, do we need to reform it? Do we need to reshape it in light of what has happened and in light of how we have found ourselves able to adjust to these new challenges in a way that really accelerates the university? So thank you. We're on track, but like any good plan, you have the chance to reform it as you move forward. So thank you. And so since that is our last question, one of the things I'd like to do is offer to you a happy Advent wish and a strong Merry Christmas. What do we have back here? Lenny? What? Oh, you, yes. So somebody told me that Lenny, are you starring in a commercial, Lenny? Is that right? Well, of course, yeah. Could we see it? Could we take a look at it? All right. So we want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. We look forward to seeing everybody back here virtually and in person sometime in the spring. So God bless you and thank you.